This video contains moderate spoilers for issue 4. If you've not read issue 4, please skip. Or close your eyes and close your ears. Or just don't watch. It's up to you. Enter at your own risk. Rot on. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome. This is Observant Jim, and for the first time ever on this channel, and hopefully the last time, we are going to react to an artist review from a fellow map member, SpinSpin 2020. So, we'll let SpinSpin do the little intro, and then we'll do the live reaction. This is the very first time I've watched it, except for the first minute, because I've had to keep starting it to make sure all the settings are correct, so let's get straight into it. Take it away, Spin.
Hey guys, this is SpinSpin, and I'm here again. I'm going to do another Doomsday Kingdom review, concentrating almost solely on the artwork. Before you on the page is James Milne's YouTube page.
There it is.
You really need to subscribe to that and put on the bell. He does the Doomsday Kingdom artwork, and he does that live streaming. It takes hours,
yes, I do.
Sometimes for him to complete just one page. I'm going
12 hours
to,
on average.
Be talking
so
about
long.
all the work that he puts into everything. Doomsday Kingdom, if you do not know, is an up-and-coming indie comic with a focus on a zombie genre story with its own twist. So the author is Ronnie Hayes, and our artist is James Milne. You can look for all your Doomsday Kingdom needs here on doomsdaykingdom.com.
Doomsdaykingdom.com.
It's an easy web page to follow. Please check it out if you have an interest, and if you're part of the map mob especially, check it out because you don't know what you're missing. I would also just like to share quickly that these guys, you know, they're putting themselves out there. What they make barely recoups their costs. So just
we broke ass.
The amount of time that goes into just one issue. If James is
We do it for the love.
4-hour live stream of just one page.
There's a snippet of a page.
The amount of time is just crazy. I mean, he works a job in his regular life, you know, doing all of this. He explains things while he's doing it.
And that makes it
got a
take
live
longer.
audience. Of course, in order to have great artwork, you do have to have some great ideas and detailed descriptions of, you know, what's wanted by the author. So Ronnie is a vital part to the process.
Of course, Ronnie is the most important part of it, because he makes the story. Without the story, there is no artwork. But you could also argue, without no artwork, there's no comic, because it wouldn't be called a comic book if there was no artwork.
When you're a little bit older, you can look back and, you know, and you think about that you took a safer route because this kind of stuff seemed out of your capability. It was just too risky. And these guys are really putting themselves out there. They're putting themselves into this. They're
Yeah, that's a good point. It still blows my mind to this day that we have almost 5 complete issues, and we're soon to have a volume collected of Doomsday Kingdom. I never planned to be a comic book artist, just the same as I've never planned to be a chef or a photographer. These things kind of just happened, and it's crazy how it has happened, because I trained professionally to be a chef. That was the one thing I did. Somehow that led into being a photographer for newspapers and magazines, documenting bands and stuff like that. All because one of the chefs, his housemate, was a photographer. Then I started teaching myself how to photograph clothing on like just models or whatever, doing like little things for t-shirt companies. And that led into the awesome company that I'm with now, which is great because I get to do a load of artwork there. I get to play around with video and photography and stuff like that. So it's crazy how things have happened. If I had done this one thing, I would still probably be in my hometown. There was this one thing that basically could have changed my entire life had I stayed there. And we'll just say it involved child. So yeah, this is crazy. So let's get back into it. This will probably get cut out somewhere, but yeah.
These guys really deserve a lot of credit. So I would like to show you first what artwork is not. This is not what James does. Okay?
I thought she was going to roast me already.
This is just what people may imagine to happen. Also,
To be honest, that's kind of, it's obviously a joke, you know, do the little circle, do the eyes, and then add the details. But really, that is kind of true. People always say, oh, I don't know how to draw, or I can never do that because it looks so complicated. Obviously, if you break it down into aspects, making your gesture drawings, which is just scribbly lines, you can just look at reference photos, take pictures of yourself, look at your own lovely, unattractive body, and translate that to the paper. Hopefully, you'll get something out of it. If it ends up being rubbish, then you can just do it again. But the thing I like to say, and I was told this as well, is like, if you can do stick figures, you can draw. Because literally all you're doing, I mean, obviously there's a lot of technical things that you need to learn, but at the end of the day, even my drawings start off as basically stick drawings, essentially. Except they end up being a little bit more advanced, like drawing a mannequin kind of thing, where you would put the straight lines for the arms, put that in half, and put a circle, and that's your elbow joint. Put another circle, and they're your shoulder joints. Put another circle for the knees kind of thing. And eventually it will turn into a person. And yeah, of course, there's other things in that make it into a person, but essentially it starts off the same way. You can't have a drawing without having nothing on the page, basically. So yeah, this is a funny joke, obviously, and it's also true on a deeper level, which I explain this kind of stuff when I do live streams as well,
so is not artwork where you just put a special effect on some little item, and then as it goes through, it becomes whatever.
That was a common misconception as well. People assumed when digital first started being more mainstream, more widely accepted, there was a lot of people who come from the traditional route, or people who just didn't know anything about drawing in general, and thought as soon as they saw digital art being created, especially when you see a lot of time-lapse videos, people assume that it's like, because it's digital, the artist doesn't have to draw anything. It's like, we'll do one line and it'll turn into the Mona Lisa. This video is a good example of that, so that's a cool little find there.
Okay. Artwork is this.
Oh.
I'm going to show you. This is just a glimpse into the type of work that James is doing, the time he takes. This is a piece that I ended up buying the original artwork to. It comes out just fantastically. I'm going to let this play for a few minutes while I do try to talk about some other stuff.
This was before I got a proper camera, like what I'm using now.
Really feel like the time he puts into this, what we get out of it, is well worth it. While this goes on, I'm going to show you a few other things, though, and then we'll check back in with this just to see.
Side note, I don't know if this whole video is going to be wholesome content and uncriticizing, because I always ask Spin to be honest. I don't know if this is just like a praising video, but I have no idea what's going to be shown. And it might be that there's stuff from issue 1, which I can't look now without thinking, holy crap, I wish I could do better back then. But again, that's just the art of progressing. Sometimes I feel like I'm never getting better. But if you look at the artwork that I create now, compared to issue 1, you see the progression. I mean, you see it pretty much in every issue. It's crazy. Like, you can always doubt yourself. I always doubt myself. But when I see the end result after toiling over it and stressing about it, and sometimes procrastinating to the point where I don't want to draw something, especially when, like, for example, the volume cover, I was so nervous to do that because it's such a pivotal thing for us to be releasing. And I'm doing it all traditional as well, so I was really scared to start it. But once I finally got through the hump, and that's what most creative things are, difficulty is trying to start something. Once you start it and you get into the groove of it, you can just keep going until, like me, your hand just dies and you need to take a 24-hour rest or whatever. But
let's just
I think she needs to say spoilers.
Let's go here. Left-hand corner. We can see a panel with Tristan flipping off those cops. But
I always do
what I like
that.
here is James' demonstration of not only motion, fluidity of, like, the sound. You can imagine a cop car going past. You can see him falling back like he barely got out of the way. Those are the type of panels that...
Tristan was being a bit daft though. He was stood in the middle of the road, although he thought it was quiet. But it's very interesting about the police thing. And I think now that issue 3 has been released, that police car was actually going after a 911 call for in issue 3, where you see the bank robbers come into the restaurant. This police car was responding to it. Originally, I was asked to do a panel showing that road, but it wasn't really necessary because it's not like you would know where it was going regardless. It's just a police car, and I like this little close-up. The whole thing with the finger is just something I incorporate because I'm drawing obviously what I know, and what I know is like how I act. I wish I could stop saying like a lot of times, but whenever something annoys me, be it a person or an inanimate object, I'll do that. And so that kind of bleeds into the artwork. I'll be like, what would my response be? And this is my response.
That are really important, and James has several of them. This isn't the only one. He also, here in the top left with Katie, he hits upon our sense of like our feel. Like he has an ambiance of the cold. He has Katie shivering. We see that with the lines and the expression on her face. But not only that, he's chosen to use blues, shades of blue, to demonstrate cold, which is excellent. And then up around her, we can see the little white, almost clouds. It's an excellent depiction of allowing you to get that sensation of cold.
The colour really adds to the mood, which is why I like that our comic is not black and white like another zombie comic. I really like playing with the colours because you can set moods and different feelings just from the colour alone, as well as obviously the expressions and the body posture of the characters and stuff like that. And one of my favourite resources for learning colour is a YouTube channel called Strip Panel Naked, which also does now a monthly magazine called Panel by Panel, which is excellent. And I also learned from a movie book, it's a cinematography book, which has a really cool title, and it's called If It's Purple, Someone's Going to Die. And so a little tidbit for the comic viewers and people who might not pick up on this, I have subtle hints of purple and dark pinks to symbolize death, pretty much. I'm not going to explain every situation of it, but if you look back and look very closely at some panels, especially ones with Mullet Man, David, and Mary, and Tristan's next door neighbour, if you see the colour choices there, it will kind of make sense. Now you could question, well, Katie's covered in purple. That's a foreshadowing, because eventually she will take the blanket off. I should also mention as well, when I meant foreshadowing Katie, I don't mean foreshadowing her death, it's just a little trick. If you did catch on to the fact that the colour purple is used to signify death is incoming or whatever, the fact that she takes it off eventually gives you a sense of relief, like, oh, she's not dying. She's going to make it.
Also on this particular page, I might as well just point out in the bottom right-hand corner, as Tristan goes into this dark room, I do really appreciate the fact that the minimal amount of, like, color used here to depict the dark is just amazing. I mean, those little lights, the small lights, that I don't know if that's the hardest type of art for James to produce or not. But
yeah, it's a good point. Sometimes it might seem like it's an easy panel to make because it's all blacked out, but it also has the opposite effect, because now I have to tell a convincing mood or vibe with minimal lines actually showing through. Now, it's a cool thing to show the direction of where Tristan's going to go because of the light rays coming from the kitchen area, but you still have to spend time doing all of the structure work, even if you're going to black things out. Like the creep it's really hard to do, the creep there is a silhouette, but I still have to draw, the pencil lines and all that kind of stuff to know what to shadow. So sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's hard. Buildings are the really hardest to play with, because sometimes I think I've put too much black on it and then you don't really get the sense of form. But sometimes it's also done just to speed things up, because I know I don't have to spend time detailing it when it comes to colour, doing a colour stage in Photoshop. So sometimes it's used as a shortcut, sometimes it's obviously used for mood, but there's always a reason for it, even if some of the reasons might be classed as skipping things. But since I'm doing every piece of the artwork, sometimes I have to do stuff like that. But also, this is a panel where we want to show the lights are not in there because we don't want to spoil the events that it's leading up to.
But these dark panels, They really say a lot. The use of light, there's some light coming through that doorway on the top one there as Tristan comes through. I just am really in awe of some of the ways that this comes together, and I've never given full appreciation, I don't think, to artwork before this.
Alright, spoiler warning for the rest of the video, so if you don't want it spoiled and haven't read the issues, then thanks for watching and we'll see you in the next one. If not, carry on and enjoy the rest of the video.
Alright, so pop on to...
Ooh, what's next?
This. This is my favorite 2-page spread so far.
Unfortunately not for sale.
And I was crying earlier because this has already been purchased by my arch enemy, Doomsday Kingdom fan club. And I don't want to tell any of you guys what's going to happen to him, because then it will be on tape. So ignore what I just said.
These were some of my favorite pages, and these were, well, page 17, which is the big reveal of the people hanging in the trees. This was one of those pages where I was nervous to do it. I took a lot of reference pictures. I went outside. I was even doing what Tristan was doing. I was jumping in the middle of the road, taking pictures to get a sense of the angles. At the end of the day, I ended up doing my own perspective grid. It's a bit wonky, but it's also crooked in the fact that it all leads up, because one, it's a low angle, and I kind of wanted to get a sense of the fact that the trees and death is hanging over them, which also coincidentally works with the fact that people are hanging from trees. So death is literally hanging over Tristan and Katie. And then the next 2 panels is them walking through, and Tristan's really now, I'm starting to show signs of weakness, because up until now he's been quite the tough guy, but that's only because he's been thrust into the situation where Katie at the minute is not in a place where she's going to be the one taking charge and looking after everybody. It's kind of like the whole thing with Lost, which I like as well, because me and Ronnie are both fans of Lost. Jack didn't want to be a leader, he was just forced into it, and this is what Tristan's got to do. But since Tristan has had a personal tragedy of his own, now that he's seeing more and more death, it's starting to get into his head a little bit. So in the next panels, is like he's purposely not looking. He's like covering his face because he doesn't want to see the bodies or whatever. And Katie is actually giving him support this time, shown obviously by the fact she's got her arm around him.
Here, top left, we see Tristan showing some deep emotion, and Katie can barely help him, to not fall completely to the ground. They have the reveal of so many hanging in the street, and then the rain, and then the frustration and the terror. There's the storm, and the storm isn't just coming, the storm is there.
Yeah, the storm is there, and that's another reason why I filled the sky with purple. Purple storm clouds do happen, because I also looked at Google images at different lightning storms, and the purple again is another signifier, like death has hit. And always in the back of my mind, whenever I think of death being represented by the sky, I think of Lord of the Rings, because there's an awesome line that has stuck with me forever and ever since obviously I watched it. And it's along the lines of, unbeknown to them, when the hobbits and all the orcs were getting killed by the riders of Rohan, obviously the hobbits didn't die, but a load of orcs did. A lot of blood was spilt. As you see the shot of Aragorn, Gimli and Legolas coming over the hill, and they stop, Legolas goes to look at the sky, and being an elf and being a bit more poetic, he goes, "A red sun rises, blood has been spilt this night." And I translated that with the purple meaning death thing for me. And so the whole fact that the storm is here also emphasizes the fact that there's a lot of death in this area. So I thought that was really cool, and it makes a really nice difference to see a color scheme like this instead of just going for the normal dark blues and dark gray, like what we saw in issue 1, where issue 1 took place as it had just had a storm, which is why it was a lot more blue, and then by the end of it the clouds started to dissipate, and then the sunset started to happen.
I gotta tell you, I think that one has to be some of the best artwork that I've seen yet. And you might think, okay, it's a kid in a window, blah, blah. Well, let's think about it. This kid is holding up a little sign that a kid would make. The major point of the sign is run, She's got it big, she's got it in red, and she's saying run. But if you look at the sign closely, there is what a kid would do. There's a tree with a guy hanging, it's hangman. And she's got the little dashed lines, it says dying. So she's playing a game, because kids play games, but she's also
A really creepy game, I might add. I really wanted to add to the tenseness. So in the script, it was basically, and then the final panel reveal is that a girl is knocking on the window and she holds up a sign saying "run," confirming Tristan's fears that this neighborhood is not a good place to be, if you couldn't tell already by the bodies. But I just think it's a really cool end panel, and seeing that in like a live action setting would be awesome. Now, it wasn't obviously in the script to show her playing a creepy game of Hangman by herself. I just thought it would add to it, the whole thing. And obviously kids draw things and they don't really vocalize what they're experiencing. We haven't technically seen people get eaten in the comic yet, so I just thought it was funny as well that she's actually drawn like people getting bitten as well, which is cool. Oh yeah, and then the rain as well, which makes everything even more dramatic, was such a cool touch as well. We're seeing the aftermath as readers following Tristan and Katie, and instead of doing like an exposition panel where you would do a panel showing what happened, this was just another cool way of indicating what has happened, because there's a reason why the people are hanging. It's not just for nothing.
It's incredible what James is able to do here, and I want to say some more things about that, but I want to switch to...
I'm doing these faces because I really can't take compliments. When I was learning to draw, I was always doing the same thing where it was like, wow, this thing's so cool and all this kind of stuff, but I've seen behind the curtain, and to me it's not as impressive anymore. So when I see people obviously get super excited about it, it makes me more excited to create more artwork. But at the time, obviously, I'm the one painstakingly drawing all these details that I don't get to enjoy it as much as if I'm looking at it from the first time, because I know the process. I know how the sausage is made, so to speak. Yeah, it's cool. And especially now that we're getting people doing more and more videos on us, it's even more surreal because I love YouTube. I spend hours on YouTube. My daily views on YouTube, according to my YouTube statistics, is like 8 hours average a day. I don't know how many gigabytes of data that is, but god damn.
I bought this CBR version of the comic. The difference to me, and you can set it up how you want, but the difference to me is this just beautiful, large, full page spread. I just want to go down here before I get back to the kid. Here we go. Now check this out. Here we have Tristan being attacked as the issue starts, and we have this one, whatever stage this guy happens to be at, he's attacking. You can see such energy and such motion here, but it's not just that. It's more than grrr or thwop or whatever. It's in the background, which I'll be honest, I didn't get it right off. I really didn't, because I wasn't reading it on the as quite this large. I was reading.
That's one thing I'm really happy that I'm succeeding in. I don't want to, I mean, it's obvious now that it's being pointed out. I don't know how obvious it is to new people reading it, but obviously Spin never saw it straight away. I just like the fact that people are seeing things that aren't in the foreground, that I've deliberately put in the background to be something to look at when you go to read it again, because we really do want you to read the comic again, especially when we start introducing characters that will show up in the future that you might not know are important, like background characters that you see in the early issues. That's just something that me and Roddy like doing, and especially again because of Lost Connection, that happens a lot, where you'll see characters that don't necessarily know the other characters at that point in time, but when it came to the being on the island, you would see them like in the flashbacks of them actually crossing each other's paths, kind of thing. And so I do a lot of stuff where there's things in the background that a lot of people don't really look at.
There's an eye, and it's yellow, and it's glazed over, and it's in some stage of the infection. And James is showing us that this guy is in this stage, and what he's feeling that's making him act this way, James is conveying that to us via this background. It's incredible. It's sweet because it's kind of hidden, and it's kind of hidden until you pay attention, and paying attention, can pay off. So all these little things that we don't think about. And James, many kudos for that one.
Thank you very much. That was just a thing as well where, because we're in full color, with the eyes, I didn't want to do just like glowing white eyes for zombies. I really wanted to show an aspect of rage, but also a cool contrast in color. The yellow is really cool because that's like anything that's white that's aged over time starts to yellow. I wish I had just done the eyes a bit more different in positions for each panel, because I really wanted to get a sense of like the creeps in the stage where it's just in a rage to get food, or it's in a rage because of the echoes of its past or whatever. Because I would imagine being a zombie, you'd be pissed off if you had thought. So I wanted to get a sense of like the eyes like darting around and glazed over so they don't really see what they're looking at, which is a big factor in how our zombies are a little bit different because of the whole blood thing.
So I hope you can appreciate now a little larger the game she's playing, the message she's sending, but also the duality of the bottom where those creeps are coming after people to get them. Just an incredible panel. Brings a lot of emotion, a lot of James's technique into our site. We feel
it's weird to hear that James has technique. I have literally, when I'm drawing it, is this image going to turn out correct or not? Am I going to have to redraw it? And most often it does turn out okay, but it's never really, well, I'm not going to say that. It does turn out how I want it. It's just because I know every stroke, I'll look at a specific area and be like, that puts me off the whole image. And it could be something simple like a rendering line does not have a nice tapered point to it, and that will make me hate that image. I'll do the finger and I'll move on. But that's the cool thing about doing artwork, is you're always going to get better. You're always going to find things that you don't like, so don't worry about it. And that's kind of the attitude I take when people criticize, especially people who criticize who don't draw. Yes, you have a right to say what you don't like, but if you don't understand how it's even done, I can't really take it that serious. I'll just keep drawing the way I want to draw and hope that the progression shows in each thing that I do.
All due respect.
What's happening?
Here is, okay, that's the full page again. Here's Doomsday Kingdom issue 1.
Oh, we're getting a comparison. I knew it.
Here's a 2-page spread. And this 2-page spread shows what it needs to show. But this 2-page spread also shows us where you've taken things, how you've transformed. Because even though I can't draw a goddamn thing, and you can, and this is fine, this one's fine, but it's early on, and I can certainly tell a difference between some of the smaller details and than I can in the future issues, and you're just advancing with every issue. So I chose this spread mostly because some of the smaller, like this panel on the left in the middle, those small figures in your later work, those small figures, even as small as those are, they have more detail. And I know that takes more time, but they have more detail. It's almost as if you said, wow, this is happening. I'm putting more of myself into it, and it shows.
Sometimes, yeah, like, obviously you're seeing the progression, which is cool, and hopefully other people see the progression. I definitely see it when I look at this, why I'm always not wanting to look at my old artwork, and this happens to everybody. It's the same as like people making music or photography or whatever. You're going to naturally progress if you keep doing something. It also comes in confidence. Like, I was avoiding showing more of the house. Firstly, because it wasn't necessary. We were setting up some action shots and we already know where we are location-wise. But it's also, compared to now, where I'm more confident in doing perspective and drawing all the buildings and all this kind of stuff. That's when I can start going, oh, I can now start putting more detail in, because I know structurally the base foundation of the image is there and it looks good enough for the purposes of telling a story. And also the fact that I upgraded my pens to include really, really fine tip ones. So now that even in the small characters, like my favorite small character panel is in the very last page of issue 4 with Tristan. And in the background, you can see Katie's hand on the sofa. That was technically about this big on the page, on like a full-size page. But because the pen tip was so fine, it just lets you put a lot more detail in, which is cool. And again, you don't necessarily have to put that detail in. I just like the fact that I'm more confident and I put more detail into it. And especially because people are buying the original page, it's like I want them to see all of the lines, because when it gets scanned and then it gets shrunk down to the comic form, you don't necessarily see all the lines. And so obviously seeing it in person is a lot cooler.
Doomsday Kingdom fan community, if you don't sell these to me, I don't know what I'm going to do to you. I love this. I need this. I want this in my life.
I'm sorry.
Right. So, let's skip back here to where he's still drawing for us. He hasn't even got to the point where he's coloring things in yet. Let me show you guys just a little bit more. This stream is one that goes on for 4 hours. This is a great guy, you guys. You got to be a great guy to love cats. It can never be exactly what Ronnie may be picturing in his head. It just can't be, because we all have our own pictures in our head. James really brings this to life. I'm digging it. I'm really digging it. I hope everyone who's come by here is really in full appreciation of this as well. I just can't.
Or Spin will come after you.
Guys, this takes him hours. I'm just so impressed. And he just does.
This is one of the This is only one of the few examples where this will take like 4 hours, because it's a simple thing. At the end of the day, it's a portrait, but a full-blown comic page where I'm doing perspective for buildings and planning out different panels and making sure they all flow together, that takes a lot longer. So the average for a standard comic book page is 12 to 16 hours for me, which is quite common. The industry standard is to do a page a day. And obviously, if you can do that in 7 hours, then bravo, you can have the rest of the day off. But for most comic people, you're literally just drawing all day and night just to get one page done.
I mean, to me, I'm showing you this because it can come to life. And I really appreciate that fluidity. And I think that as he does more and more of these, perhaps I can, play with.
It'd be so gruesome to see it in live action as well, like just blood going everywhere. And this this line, me and Ronnie were cracking up going on about this, because Tristan's not the type of guy to like do one-liners, and we don't want to make too many comedy moments. But sometimes in the heat of the moment, especially in the heat of writing and drawing, some things just come into play, and it was just a really cool line. Yeah, drinks on me, you deep-fried motherfucker. I just love it, and I can't wait to see that one day.
You guys may or may not appreciate what I do, but certainly you should.
We all do. We all appreciate you, Spin. I think we're at the end of it.
Ronnie Hayes, shout out to you. James Milne, big shout out to you. Doomsday Kingdom Fan Club. Right now, I hate your guts because you took my sketches.
You better watch out, Johnny lad.
But okay, shout out to you. It's okay, bro.
Of course, shout out to Doomsday Kingdom fan community.
To the Map Mob, and that's
and
all
to the
for
Map
now,
family
guys.
and
there's
Ronnie.
So much more to say, so I better shut my trap before everybody wants to kill me.
Ooh. Johnny. Oh, she got you there. That was a cool, the cool little image. I've always wanted to do that with the artwork, but I've never known how to do it. Have a little video effect that makes it all come to life. Wow. My first ever concise artwork review from a fan of the comic, which is pretty cool. That's something I never thought was going to happen, and I'm glad it has, because it was quite cool seeing your opinions on it, and it's cool to see everyone else's opinions on it, because again, I don't see that from my perspective, because I'm putting in the hard work to get these images drawn. So thank you very much for watching. I don't know if this was even entertaining to watch, but definitely check out Spin 2020's channel. It will be in the description. Follow Instagram, follow me on Instagram, Observant Jim, and Love Pigeon on Twitter. And of course, follow Make a Path Presents. This is James signing off. Oh wait, I've screwed that up, but whatever. Rot on. Bye. Fuck.